But it's actually sometimes the thing that you need to let go of actually makes way for opportunity.
Right.
And so I remember that job. One of the things that was holding me back that I think a lot of people can resonate with is that I started having a limiting belief. And it was, hey, I've worked so hard. Where else am I going to find something similar to this? You know, or one of my limiting beliefs was that kept me in this job for a minute is like, I can't leave it because now I have a salary and I have benefits.
Buckle up for a new episode of the S.H.E podcast, the show where we have real and raw conversations to inspire and empower you to be seen and heard so you can create balance and everything you want in your life and business. I'm your host, S.H.E, and I'm excited to walk alongside of you on this journey of being seen, heard, and empowered. Welcome to the S.H.E podcast. Be seen, be heard, be empowered. I'm your host, S.H.E, and I'm excited to be talking with my guest today. We've already did a little laughing in the background. We were having some fun. I've met her a couple times before. We had to reschedule this once. So we've had a lot of things we've been navigating, and we've had a little fun in the process. So it's going to be a really high energy from the way she is showing up and the way she always shows up, interview and conversation. So you're really going to enjoy this. So without further ado, let me introduce my guest, Christy Pennison, to the podcast. So welcome, Christy.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Heidi. I'm really excited to be here and hopefully add a little value by sharing my story to your listeners.
Yeah, I'm excited. I know you're going to provide tremendous value, which is why I was really excited when you were a yes to coming on here. So thank you for that. Christy, I'm going to do a little intro about you, and then we'll dive right in. So
Awesome.
Christy is a board certified counselor, 7-figure entrepreneur, and the host of the Inspiring Possible podcast. She is the founder of Be Inspired Counseling and Consulting, a multi-location therapy practice serving communities across central Louisiana, and co-owner of the Practice Collab, a business dedicated to supporting and equipping group therapy practice owners nationwide. Christy has coached and advised dozens of mental health professionals, leaders, and entrepreneurs across the country, helping them navigate growth, resilience, and the real challenges that come with building meaningful work and full lives. Her leadership impact have earned her recognition from peers and organizations alike, including the 20 under 40 Acadiana. Am I saying that right?
Acadiana. Yeah, you're close. It's a Louisiana type.
I love
Acadiana
it.
is a region in Louisiana. Yeah.
Yeah, Acadiana Leadership Award and being named the 2024 Central Louisiana Remarkable Woman of the Year. Wow, that is so awesome. I can't wait to learn more about that. So, Christy, I asked this from all my guests. With what you're doing now and moving into therapy and having multi-locations now, is this something that you decided you wanted to go into this field because of a journey something you've gone through personally, or did you just always know that you're this passionate and you're like, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to get certified, and this is what I want to do?
Oh my gosh. Well, even when you're reading that bio, I think to myself, like, I always would have never imagined that this is where the journey would have taken me. If you would have taken 18-year-old Christy, or even like mid 20s or even early 30s Christy, and been like, hey, by the way, let me read this bio to you and see if that sounds like you, I'd have been like, huh? Like, who is that person? So, it's interesting because I am not the person that had the map drawn out for my life. In fact, a lot of things in my life have gone completely unexpected from the younger version of me saying, this is what I'd love life to look like, and it's been pretty incredible because when I really think about it, I say I'm the least likely. When I went to college, I knew I wanted to help people, but I actually went in for my first degree as an undeclared major because I'm like, I don't know exactly what I want to do. I just know that I do want to get this degree because I also realized that as a woman, that would be really a good stepping stone for me into whatever I chose to do. And today my mind has shifted a little bit. I really think that you don't necessarily have to go to college. You can really get some specialized skills and make it happen, especially if you're entrepreneurial or even if you're just want to develop a skill set in a certain arena. I have friends of mine who have just really killed it in the I guess space that they're in because they've just developed that knowledge throughout time. But I knew I wanted to help people, but in my mind I wasn't exactly sure how that was going to play out. And as you said, Heidi, I am a counselor and board certified. And what's really interesting about that is what I've learned about therapists in general, and this is not a negative thing. There's either two reasons why I feel like most of us enter the helping profession. It's either because we wish we would have had help at a certain point of our life, that there maybe wasn't help readily available, or we went through something really hard that makes us understanding of the hard that people go through. Or number two, we had somebody that changed our life through being providing that special listening space, really making us feel seen, heard, and validated. And then they want to give that gift forward to other people. So for me, I'd probably say it was maybe the first thing versus the second. Not to say that I didn't have incredible mentors in my life, but I actually had a really negative experience with a therapist when I was a child, when my parents were going through a divorce. And for me, I lived in a very storybook childhood, like until it wasn't. And so I remember that was my first interaction with people in the helping profession. So I just went ahead and wrote off like, you won't see me in a counselor's office, number one. And number two, you probably won't see me in that profession. But really, along the journey, I always say that it's important to kind of listen for clues and kind of be just observe, like, what are the things that I naturally gravitate to? What are the things that I'm good at? Where do I feel like I'm being called in this season? And so for me, I actually finished my undergraduate with a sociology degree, and I was working at a local homeless coalition. So again, helping people, but not really sure how I was going to expand on that. And then I got a job as soon as I graduated at a children's advocacy center. And my job was a child forensic interviewer. So what I would do is I would interview kids that had went through some really tough situations and they needed an interview, but they would bring these children to a child forensic interviewer versus like a police officer, because we were trained a little bit more how to really be able to interview a child in a non-leading way to hopefully be able to get a little bit of their story. And that job, I remember it was just really hard for me to not only gather information and sit with them and that hard stuff that they were having to disclose, and I'd have to get very granular about like things that happened and then kind of send them out the door and hope that there was somebody on the next step of the journey to help them through that. So ultimately that was pushed me into the counseling profession. The one I said like, not going to do that. Cause I'm like, well, how do I help these kids more directly? And then I realized, okay, well, the way to do that is through being able to get more education and really be able to do that more on a one-on-one basis. So that was a little bit of the path that led me here, but I would have never thought I would have gotten all the way to where I'm at now, but that's a little bit start to my journey.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all of that, because I think a lot of what you said, everything you said is really important for those of you who may be listening who are like, I'm still on that path of trying to figure it out. Success leaves clues. And as you were successful in your life to get here to where you are now, no matter what place you're in, right? Success leaves clues. So what are the things that you've gone through? What, looking back at your journey, and because every step of your journey brought you to where you are now, and looking to find your purpose or your passion or where you're going or where you're headed, what is it along the way that really lit you up? What are those pieces of your journey that maybe unexpectedly you may have thought like, hey, this isn't, I'll never do that. And then all of a sudden things have been brought into your space that are leading you back there, which sounds like you kind of came full circle, because
such a full circle.
Yeah.
I even moved away from my hometown and then moved back there when I said I wasn't going to. So I always say I'm the person, if I have to be cautious of not saying never about things, because serendipitously it'll probably happen where I resurface to that. But to your point about success leaving clues and challenges, early on And even in my young adulthood, I faced a challenge that I wasn't expecting, which I was in college and I actually became pregnant unexpectedly. And so that was not my future life story. So what I found myself was really in my early 20s, raising a child independently by myself. And the reason why I say that that comes to mind because it's been the greatest gift, and it's also been it's hard for anybody listening. If you parenting is not for the faint of heart, but what it did was it motivated me to push myself probably beyond my comfort zone, because I knew, okay, if I'm the person that's responsible for this tiny human and their development to get them to adulthood, then what I want to do is pursue things that I feel very strongly about so that I can give her to do the same. I did have a daughter too. So I think, again, whether it's a son, there was something special about that daughter connection of like, I really want to show her what's possible. And I may have not known that in my head completely, but I did actually write a, scholarship application, which pretty much said something similar. So maybe I did actually already think this. I said, you know what? Life has gone way differently than I expected, because one of the things I did not expect was to be caring for a tiny human at this stage in my life. However, this is where I'm at. This is the gift I've been given. So I am going to take this and try to go full force, and I want to show her what's possible. And so that led me down the road of eventually going into the counseling profession, getting licensed, having jobs in multiple helping areas, getting into a leadership role in my late 20s where somebody said, hey, I want you to do this. And at first I was like, I've never like supervised people. I don't know how to hire people. I don't know how to start a program from the ground up. But there was a mentor that saw, I guess, my unwillingness to quit, my willingness to do hard things. And so when you think about success leaves clues, one of the things that I think that has always carried me through is that I will do anything. If it's pick up trash, if it's like, you know what I mean? Like if I worked in a space, like I would try to take care of it, and I would really try to do my job to my best of my ability. And I think when I think about all the different pivotal points that led me to give me opportunities to where I am today, it was because I wasn't afraid to do things that other people maybe weren't 100% comfortable doing. And it doesn't mean that I wasn't terrified the whole time I was doing it. So the big leap for me, the first one, besides, you know, parenting and figuring that out, how to keep a child alive, was then pretty much saying, quitting a job that I really loved to finish my degree on my master's program. And then another thing was like, okay, I had an opportunity once I got my full licensure to move to a different city. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm from small town USA. I'm going to leave my supports. You know, I used to have my mom like through the woods. It was really for my daughter, you know, that to grandmother's house we'll go. Yeah. Literally, she could walk from my house at 4 years old, go through the woods and be at her grandmother's. And that was such an amazing thing for me to have and for her to have too. But when the opportunity came to say, well, you could actually have this leadership role, you could start something from the ground and build it up, but you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone. I just remember that I was like, okay, this is, again, not where I was expecting to go or what I was expecting to do. But I also know that if I never push myself past where I'm at, then I will stay where I'm at. And so that was an incredible leap, pretty much push myself through that. And then there came a point, even a time in that job where it became something it wasn't anymore, you know? And I think that's hard because there's sometimes things in life that we just put so much energy and effort into. It's hard for us to know when to let go. And so I would say, if you find yourself in there, that's a hard discerning place to be. But in that role that I had taken the leap, I invested, like at this point, 5 years into building something. One of the things that I had to figure out how to do, which is crazy, because actually right now I'm in a season where I'm trying to decide about whether to let go of maybe something within our business that I've worked really hard over the past several years. But it's actually sometimes the thing that you need to let go of actually makes way for opportunity. Right. And so I remember that job one of the things that was holding me back that I think a lot of people can resonate with is that I started having a limiting belief. And it was, hey, I've worked so hard. Where else am I going to find something similar to this? You know, or one of my limiting beliefs was that kept me in this job for a minute is like, I can't leave it because now I have a salary and I have benefits. You know what I mean? Which is a real thing. And thankfully, me and my daughter are a little bit healthier. So I realize for some people, like not having benefits would really be a hard thing for them, especially if they're dealing with chronic illness or have high needs or just things like that. But I remember what was holding me back from leaving what had turned into some kind of toxic type of workplace that was not well for my mental health was the fact that I was like telling myself these things. Well, one day I was like, I started listening to a podcast. So for those of you listening, thank you for listening today. I started listening to a podcast that was starting to help me shift my belief systems. I'm like, I made it this far, but we still will always have limiting beliefs that are keeping us from even pushing ourselves to the next thing that may be uncomfortable for us. So for me, it was benefits. And one day I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something radical. I'm going to call a benefits coordinator and just see if I was to do something way different, like go out on my own or work as a contractor somewhere, and I had to have benefits for me and my daughter. What would that look like? And Heidi, let me tell you, I called this person on the phone and he was like, oh, here's how much you would have to pay a month. And do you know it was like substantially less than what I was paying at my job?
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, is this the thing that's been keeping me here? And I didn't even realize that could have a similar plan. Now, again, there were some variables. We were still like, I was still younger and my daughter was younger, but I'm like, man, okay. So this whole thing that had been holding me back and keeping me in a place where I'd show up that I used to love. But we had some acquisitions and leadership changes, and there were so many things that changed to where the culture was just not what it was. And I'm like, okay, then we can do this. And so what I've learned through all of that is that number one, there is no overnight success. I'm sorry to disclaim this to everybody. I always think, even to this day, I'm like, they've got to know the easy way to do this. I still have this belief system. I don't know if you do. Is there an easy way to do this? I think there's got to be. I mean, people on the internet make it look so easy. But then I'm like, oh no, we all got to do our own work. We all got to do our own hard. We all have limiting beliefs that are keeping us from whatever it is that we're feeling called to do, or our greatest potential of where we're called to serve. I think it's just trying to figure out what those are and then be able to take a few steps to just start questioning it. Does that still hold value? And for me, I think that actually story is what launched me into starting to take even more leaps of faith into what I was feeling called to do, which eventually led me home, starting a practice, growing that substantially, and really being able to have an impact that I would have never imagined in my wildest dreams was possible for me. Because in my mind, for many years, I was a single mom who needed certain things to provide safety and security for my daughter. And I'm not saying that all those things weren't true, because they were, but I did realize that when I sometimes pushed a little bit past my comfort zone, it wasn't as catastrophic as I made it out to be in my mind.
Right.
We survived, we were cared for, and it looked a lot different. There may have been times. I also have to say that I do have a little bit more risk tolerance than most. So I think know thyself is really important in this conversation, Heidi. There was times where I was able to say, okay, how far can I leap out? And when do I need to pull the, they have that button, that thing when you're in a plane, what is it called?
Or something?
A train brake or the release. I think about those people that are going down and then they can actually like eject themselves, the ejection button, like when do I need to eject myself? And that's another thing too. I don't know about your listeners, but I always realize like, okay, let me remember where I started. And would I be willing to go back there and do whatever it takes to get? And I say yes. So I think you, again, knowing yourself, but I don't know if that answers your question. I kind of went on a tangent of my story.
No,
but
it's great. And you said so many good things there. One, you said, which you kind of talked into the first your first answer response and then this one is plan. And it's awesome to have a plan. And all you hear about at the beginning of New Year's and once we hit, we're about to hit second quarter as we're recording this, and then summer comes and we're always looking toward the end. 6 months left for the rest of the year. 6 months have gone by. What have we accomplished? And we always set these plans, but you said multiple times that the plan, this wasn't part of your plan. A lot of things that showed up for you in your life and in where your journey took you work wise was not part of your quote unquote plan. And I think that's important out real quick as a gold nugget, because along with a lot of other things you said, but this one, because we can stay so focused on a plan without allowing flexibility and a little turns along the way to show up, because just because we have this plan doesn't mean it's the right plan. So, and if we're so stringent on our plan and our checklist, nope, I'm married by 30, doing this, I'm starting my business by this, I'm going to work my way up the corporate ladder. At 24, I'm going to do this. And then by 27, I'm going to have this, I'm going to up level this way. And when we stay on such a strict plan, we don't allow magic and beauty to enter. And there's so much more possibilities than what we can think of, which you also said, if I limited myself, I wouldn't know the possibilities that are out there. And also limiting beliefs are so real. And like you said, once knowledge is power, when we actually ask the questions and go, okay, what is my limiting belief? Maybe, I'm not going to be able to do this because I need health insurance. I need this. I have a daughter to provide for. And what does it look like if I go find out? What if I ask the questions and I make the call? And you did. And it was like, oh my gosh, my thought process was so much bigger. The challenge was so much bigger in my mind than what it is in reality. And I wanted to highlight that as well, too, because the fear can make the challenge so much bigger. And when it's literally, and I have a client who we just did a content piece on this, and it's like literally whatever it looks like Mount Everest is really just a 2-inch curb. It's not as big as what we think it to be. And I have another client that talks about this is in our mind is back old school where we were fighting saber-toothed tigers. Like we were living in a cave and out there was really scary. And the fear was meant to protect us. We had to prepare to do that. We're not living in that kind of society today. So the fear can still trigger in our mind the same way, like, oh no, you can't do this. We've got to keep you safe. When stepping your toe outside that comfort zone might feel unsafe and scary, but it's probably a lot better than what you think it is. And we can't get to the magic and the beauty and the possibilities that are greater than we can imagine for ourselves, because we tend to create less possibles than what's actually out there and available by stepping out there, by moving through the fear, by going, okay, I get it. I'm scared. I love you. Thank you for showing me that, you're nervous for me. And I know I'm not going to be fighting a saber-toothed tiger. Nobody's eating me today. I can still go do what I need to do in order to take that next step to grow into possibilities that I can't even imagine. So you said so much there. Those are my 3 quick takeaways, gold nuggets I pulled from it. But yeah, it was amazing.
Well, I loved how you said magic and beauty too. And like you said, I think we got to be aware of our nervous system. So, even as a therapist, even though I don't get to do as much direct one-on-one anymore, just because of my role changes and responsibilities, I mean, there's a real thing going on in your body when you are faced with an unknown and uncertain, something that scares you. And it could be from a past thing that you have no idea is linked to the present today that can really keep us in a place of fear. And I will be honest with you, where I've gotten today has been through my own work in therapy, has been through coaching, has been through mentorship, consulting, asking questions. What I've realized is that I used to be that girl that would sometimes raise my hand in class and not always get picked on to answer, or if I did, then somebody be like, oh, Christy, whatever. But I've retrained my brain to whereas it used to be like, oh, I'm afraid to ask question if I don't know the answer, to now, in my 40s being like, what? Where did this thing come from all these years where I just couldn't ask the question? And so I loved how you said, number 1, 2, knowledge, because I think sometimes it can feel very overwhelming because we don't maybe know the knowledge that would help us refute this maybe negative thought or limiting belief or whatever. And the more you have evidence against something, like let's say, and I'm saying if it's negative, the more you have against it, that's maybe not true, the more you can step into a new thought or new thing. But your body also has to follow suit, because if your body's still, you're thinking, oh, this is possible, but inside you're like, you're really feeling like you're about to get, eaten for lunch by that saber-toothed tiger, then they have to be in alignment. But I think each time you leap out, what's the crazy thing is there's no way to escape the hard. You just have to do it, because the more you leap and the more you realize, oh, I didn't fall on a sharp rock,
Right.
This may have not happened the way I expected. Like you said, the quarter, we're into almost the end of the quarter. I have a question for you, Heidi. Has this first quarter of the year gone exactly as you expected or planned?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I think no matter where you are in the world right now, I think you're feeling the same, because
Yeah.
many of us are feeling like this did not go as planned. Even last year, when I look at this quarter last year and I look at this quarter this year, I'm like, they're completely different. Completely different. And I expected this quarter to be similar as last year, because last quarter was kind of slow for us, honestly, like slow with the holiday. And I'm like, oh, it's no worries. It's going to get this next quarter is our quarter, because we were slammed last year. It's going to be the same this year. And it hasn't necessarily been rolling like that. It's not bad. But it's not like what I expected it to be.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you see it. I mean, my quarter has totally, I mean, we do like in the business side of things nowadays, and I think you do the same. Like we do our yearly planning, we do our quarterly planning. I actually probably at this point in life plan better for my business than my life, but I'm working to get back to that intentionality, because that intentionality around my life kind of what helped me get here. But we create a plan. But even the best well laid out plans are going to have these unexpected obstacles. But I do think we're going to circle this conversation back to the beginning. As you experience these things in your life that you totally didn't expect, I do think it's important to still say, what is one goal that I want to go towards? I mean, you don't have to overcomplicate it. It's like one thing. So for me, if I look about my journey, for one point, it was like getting the degree. Didn't know what it was going to be in, but I knew that part. Art was like, okay, I need a job to support me and my child. Didn't know what that was going to look like, but check that part. So I think you just can go down the road. And so like even for us this year too, there's just been some way unexpected things that I could have never imagined that were going to hit us. As a therapist and holding the space for so many people for so many years, even for me, I'm like, yeah, I've heard this happen to so many people. Like the unexpected is going to happen. Life is going to take you by surprise in good ways and not so good ways. It's the journey. But I don't care how much of the journey you've gotten through, it still will sideswipe you. And then but I think it's what you do whenever you do get those sideswiped things that happen to you to help you not stay 100% stuck there. And we do have all things that like will put us in a not good place. Like I think losing somebody, losing a job, things that just happen catastrophically around the world have a deep emotional impact on us. But it is trying to say, okay, and now what? So what are the things that are inside my control versus outside of my control? Okay, maybe I'm not functioning 100%. I mean, I've had periods still to this day, like we're always say that burnout led me to build the dream, but it's so easy to build the dream and then go burn out. Okay, so like that's the truth.
Burnout can show up on both sides of the coin. Absolutely.
It can show up both sides, but then it's like, okay, well, what do I know about myself at this point along the journey? What do I need? Do I need people now? Do I need people to help me pull me out of the mud and be like, girl, you got a mission to accomplish, or hey, you need to take care of yourself now. You need to be the receiver of help. Like you can't just keep pouring from this empty cup. But it's life. It's like navigating that and then trying to, once you're able to reset yourself or take care of yourself, because that's important, then you have more capacity to figure out the solution or figure out the next thing that you want to dream up. But we can all get stuck. I mean, I was looking at a cool thing that I want to do recently. And I can't tell you how much it got me out of my rut because we were having some unexpected things. And so I started dreaming again. And when I started dreaming about this one thing, I was looking at it from a certain perspective and I'm like, yeah, this is not possible. But it was like one idea that I looked at it from a different way. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is totally possible. So I think you also have to give yourself
Yeah.
time and sometimes get the perspective of others to really help you shift that thinking that we've been talking about today.
Yeah. And you said a couple things there. One is perspective is key because we can look at it from one perspective and go, it's not doable, not possible, and come up with all the reasons why no. And then there's other perspective is we could wake up the next day in a different perspective, and go like, okay, wait a minute. And also sharing your dream and your vision, because a lot of us will hold it close because maybe we don't feel like we have support. Somebody's going to laugh at us, or they're going to be like, what are you doing? Like, that's not even, do you know what kind of world we're living in right now? Like, what are you even thinking about? Like, you've got this, and this, and this, So I think just also sharing it, like you said, allows other perspectives and choose the people you trust, right? Like,
Yeah, choose your
trust them.
sounding board
Yes.
wisely.
Make sure you choose your sounding board wisely. And but sharing that vision is key because many of us can just hold it too close to the chest and not share it. And when you share it, wow, do you think possibilities can open up and connections can open up? Somebody that you share it with could go, you know what? I know the exact person that knows how to, or knows a person that can help you do that. But we don't know that if we're playing lone wolf, if we're keeping things too close to the chest and we're not willing to communicate, put it out there. And that can be scary. You could have fear around that. And, getting a little vulnerable and sharing, like, I have this big dream and vision. You might think I'm crazy, but this is what it is. And that person can go like, I think it's spectacular. And you know what? I know the exact person that can help you do that or create that or whatever it is. So yeah, I totally love that. So you said that you had fear. Now you went from, you had fear leaving the job, coming back here, starting the business. That was one fear, or limiting beliefs. You clarified that by going, okay, wait a minute, the insurance isn't that bad. I can do this. Let's take this leap. And I know, being a single mom with a daughter, I can only imagine that fear was even amplified because it's not just you, right? We could sleep in the car, we could do the things that we need to do. We could maybe, eat the ramen, but we want, when we're taking care of a child, that just adds a whole big other layer to it. What were the fears of starting your practice? Did you have fear when you're starting your practice? And if you did, because you sound like the person you shared, like, I'll do the scary. I might be scared doing it, but I'll do the scary. And it sounds like you'll do it confidently. And not a lot of people
attempt. It doesn't, it's not perfect. Doesn't mean I don't get scared. Yeah. Well, yes. I will say, listen, I've done a lot of research, and you maybe have too, over different personality types. And the more I just want to disclaim this, everybody, again, you got to know yourself. Okay. So I work with people now who are on my leadership team who are rock stars. And they were like, Christy, like, yes, we know you love to go to the cliff and jump off. So I have to surround myself now with people who are like, sharp rock. We need to have a bridge built. Wait, let's get a process of how to get to the bottom. And those relationships have been extremely valuable to me. But I do believe that there are things that we sometimes have on our heart to do that I always say that if I've somehow done this, people might need a little bit more safety net than what I did. Okay. I was just ignorant and I had full belief of this calling that I was supposed to move back. Because again, I said I would never move back to my hometown. Like, that was not a thing for me. But I also knew that, okay, I have a little bit of savings here. So I did have some financial, I always want to put that piece in there too. It's like, knowing what you can live off of and what you can't. So I think that's very important to know, especially if you're going to take a leap like what I did. And most people build their dream like alongside something else they're doing. And that it can be awesome as well, because it creates a little of knowing what you need so that you won't put yourself in a place where my mental health is now really jeopardized because, I'm really trying to do all these things and it's not working in the way that I thought. So I know yourself. I can't say that enough. Know yourself. And it may take some time to get to know yourself if you haven't done that work to know yourself.
Those conversations with yourself.
Yeah. But I was ignorant. I'm not even going to lie, Heidi. I was a little
You're happily
ignorant. That
ignorant. I love
I
that.
was happily ignorant because I was like, okay, I have been in a role before where I moved to this other city, and they said, here's an office, here's your goal, ask questions you need, and go forth. You know what I mean? But it is a whole different thing when it's your money that you're like, oh, okay, well, I can't just buy this desk or I can't just whatever. Um, so I think when I moved back, there was still a lot of fear. There was a lot of fear I had to push through because I had to put myself out there in a way I had never put myself out there before. Because anybody started something, you got to market that thing. You could be having a great thing you offering everybody in the world, but if nobody knows about it, then they can't find you to get the value that you deliver. And so again, another thing that I did probably pretty early on was I got help, you know. So y'all have probably heard me. Number one, I'm a professional helper. Okay. But the professional helper needs help. So if you don't get anything from this podcast today, maybe hopefully it's like sometimes we need help for our own limiting beliefs and we
Yeah.
need people to help us navigate those. So I remember I just got help and there were people along the way that pushed me to get past my fears. So the first Facebook Live, doing this podcast, younger me would have been so scared to do this. I don't know about you, Heidi, but like, I'll never
Yeah.
forget the first
Oh,
podcast I was like interviewed on, and then the first podcast I recorded, completely terrified.
mm,
Terrified. Nobody would have ever, if they listened to it, you're probably gonna be like, oh, whatever, Christy. But I'm telling you, I was shaking. My heart was palpitating,
sweat.
and it's like a muscle. The more you move it, the more less scary it gets. But it was scary. And so I remember, one of my group consultant or one of my coaches, where I was just a solo show. I was just an individual therapist, started this business. I just knew I had a heart to help people and I'd had my license. I've been licensed for several years. I'm like, I just want to help people. And that was my goal. And I still want to make enough income so I could support my child and pay for the light bills of this house and then this building, that I was renting out. He was like, okay, I really think you need to do some more lives because this is like in 2019 where lives were still a thing right before the pandemic. So we won't even get to pandemic. That happened, you know what I mean? But he was like, you should go, you need to put it out there that what you're offering. So I remember sitting in my living room, and I actually remember my realtor who sold me that house legit thought I was crazy. So people are going to believe in the vision that you're doing. She told me later, I sold you that house. And I'm like, I don't know how that girl's going to pay for this, but but now we've been friends. She's helped me do other commercial purchases. Like it's been crazy, the path. So I would also say sometimes you need to go on the path to make other people believers,
Right.
But I had to do this video and I probably recorded it. I kid you not, Heidi, probably like, I don't know, 100 times in my living room with it set up, talking about myself, how I can help you, speaking to people's pain, just trying to be able to give some value to people in the world. And I just remember almost barely didn't publish it or put it out there, you know? But then it was again just saying, okay, but what if the opposite of your belief right now and your fear right now is actually true? And what is that liberating truth? Like people actually might want to watch it and that might give them hope. We were talking about your podcast. Like your goal here is to provide hope for people that it's possible for them that they can take those leaps as women, that sometimes we really hold ourselves back. And so then it was just taking those tiny steps and leaning into fear. So I think one of the things that I've learned, and I'm sure you have too, is that the more I lean into discomfort, and if I can get through it, typically on the other side, I will have found that it was worth it. But it's so hard. And that's where the hard part we talk about is that like, because you're constantly fighting with yourself, your mind to say, no, maybe it's just that I've never been there before. Or maybe if I do post this video, like people might not like it, but hopefully they'll unfollow. That's where I'm at this point in the in life. Like if it's not for you, that's okay. That's okay. But this might be for somebody. And
Right.
that's what I now have to refocus my mind to is that it's that one somebody. And then that's what helped kind of push me to do the uncomfortable is I don't know about you, Heidi, but I can show up for other people all day long.
Mm,
Myself, I'm still working on
absolutely.
that. Maybe
Yeah.
by the time that I leave this planet, I will have figured that out. Probably not, but that's okay. But if I can show up for somebody else, it helps me sometimes get past my own fears, because then it's not just about me. It's about what can I do for them. So whether it be my daughter, whether it be the people I serve, whether it be people I'm trying to empower or provide hope to, like you are. I don't know if that helps you, but that's something that helps me.
Yeah, absolutely. I love everything you said. Can you share? I want to make sure I'm respecting your time. Can you share how people can connect with you for those listening going, I want more of Christy? How do I go find her?
Yeah, you can find, so like we talked about at the beginning, I have my podcast as well, Inspiring Possible. So you can actually go to inspiringpossible.com and find out more about me there. And really, honestly, you can find me on the most socials. I'm kind of taken a little bit of a step back from social, but anything that's Christy Pennison or Inspiring Possible, you could possibly find me there.
Yeah, definitely go check her out, her podcast. Go to Inspiring Possible, tune in, leave a review, do all the things. It's an awesome podcast. And I love supporting my fellow podcasters because I agree with you, Christy. This stuff is scary when you're first trying it, right? We're a little seasoned now, but even my solos, my producer's still tells me, Heidi, you need to do more solos. You have guests on all the time, but I don't prioritize me scheduling a solo out on my calendar. And that is key. Like making time for you self-care wise, right, Christy, and making sure that you're doing the things that you need to do, like going live and doing the scary. And even if the live, like you were talking about, isn't the thing that's necessarily going to change the thing for you, like move the number in a great way at the beginning, it could be the thing that does, and you won't know it unless you try it. And if you're getting that closing of your throat like I do when I get scared, the tightening of the chest, the shaking and the sweats, that's the thing, that's what signals to me I got to do this. And when you were talking about all the things like, staying comfortable, getting uncomfortable, doing the things that's going to get you closer to your goal, I thought of a visual. So for those of you that are visual, I might do this where it kind of helps, like draw a line and going, like, this is where I am. This is my goal. And then like in front of that line, put other lines and go, okay, live stream, podcast guesting, pitch one podcast, blah, blah. And every time you do one of those, you step over that line, or you make a mark that over that line. So there's a visual of going, I've crossed off all these scary things to get to my goal. Maybe that'll help you. Just that came to my mind.
Well, and honestly, I'm glad that you brought this up. If you are interested, there's like a whole free workbook I have that kind of helps you do this step-by-step thing. And yeah, it's on, and I always forget about it, but I've used it before. I use it almost every year. So it's free, but it is on the website. It's called the Dream It, Write It, Do It workbook. And it does help you just kind of figure out what is limiting. How do I get, where do I want to focus on in my life? No matter what it is that you're trying to do. It could be have better relationships. It could be, I want to have more fun. That's my goal this year, just honestly. Yeah. How do you be intentional about figuring out what that bridge is? I loved your visual of bridges. What is the things that could possibly help me get to where I want to go?
Yeah. So go to ChristyPennison.com and you can grab that. It's called Dream It, Write It, Do It workbook. It's free. Go download it. Go get to know her. Reach out to Christy. Go check out her podcast, Inspiring Possible. And I wanted to ask you, we'll do this real quick. Oh, you were a guest on the Montel Williams Free Thinking podcast, and you've been featured in NBC Today and other publications. Y'all, Christy knows her stuff. So she's been there. She's done it. She's built a 7-figure business. She's a 7-figure entrepreneur. She's gone from not knowing what she was doing, not knowing the path. The path didn't match her plan. But she leaned into it. She did the scary, and she's here now sharing it with you. And I'm just like so grateful for your journey and for you being here to share it, Christy. And just knowing that you are a mom of a daughter, and I know you've inspired her in many ways. I have a 17-year-old who's navigating getting ready to go to college or school and what that looks like, and stepping into new responsibilities and goals for herself. And it's wonderful to hear from you. So I'm going to have her listen to this podcast and listen to you. And and I tell her, because she's wanting to go to veterinary school, which is what I wanted to do. Obviously, I did not do that, but that was my plan and my path. And I knew deep in my heart, 110%, that was my plan. And it didn't turn out that way. And I tell her too, I would love to see you be a veterinarian, and also be open to new things that come your way. And like you were talking about earlier, as far as choosing college, and it's not for everybody. And now the world is different than from when you and I went. I think most of us kind of needed college at that time. It was expected and required to
Yeah.
get a good quote unquote job. Now things are different. There's more trades, there's entrepreneurship, there's AI, there's a lot of different opportunities that are developing and opening that we didn't have. And also it's also viable for certain professions and for certain things you want to do. And maybe it's just some time. It could be an expensive way to figure out what you want to do. But I think just being open, and I tell her, I'm like, if you want to go into biology, chemistry, whatever that is, have a minor in business. I just do business too, because no matter what, that's going to open, that's just going to make you more viable and provide more value for you with a company when they see that you have both. And you never know if you're going to move into the entrepreneurial journey. Look, like you said, looking back,
You never know.
20s or 30s, like I always thought I'd be an entrepreneur, but I didn't know how, I didn't know when or if, and it wasn't a priority or on my radar. It's something that I got a divorce, and that's how I came into entrepreneurship. Christy, so for you, is there a fun fact about you? Something about Christy we wouldn't know from seeing you on social or your website?
I mean, you may or may not know this, but this is something that people are always surprised. So I love to karaoke.
Oh, I do too.
Okay.
That's awesome.
You do? Okay. And so what's always surprising is I think there was some group I was in and they were like, okay, what karaoke song would you sing if you're tomorrow? And I have one. I'm curious to know what yours is, Heidi, but I've practiced and done this multiple times. I do not do it as good as her, but I love singing I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston. That is my
Wow,
go-to
that's not an
karaoke
easy song. So you must be
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, I can hear.
I mean, I try, but I love it. It's a crowd starter. People are like, everybody will dance to that song. Like, you don't even got to be singing it great, but they are going to get up and dance. So I think that's why I love it. But do you have a go-to karaoke song?
I do. I usually start with "Hit Me with Your Best Shot."
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
I used to be "Last Dance" by Donna Summer.
Okay.
That used to be my
Yeah.
go-to. Now it's "Hit Me with Your Best Shot," and then I'll do like country. I love Reba. My cousin and I, when we were young, I can't pull off Reba anymore, but when I was younger, I could. And now I do like Jody Messina, like old school '90s country. I love.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love this. Well, if we
We'll
ever
have
are
to
in the same
karaoke
part of the
sometime.
world, we'll have to karaoke. Yeah.
Maybe we'll do a virtual Zoom room karaoke.
Oh
So
my gosh, that would be so much fun.
if you want this, drop it in YouTube and we'll make this happen and we can we can meet y'all. We can meet y'all.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. Last question for you, Christy. If you could have lunch with anyone, deceased or alive, who would it be and why?
Oh my gosh. Who comes to mind? You know what? It's interesting because for some reason I thought of my grandmothers, which is really weird because my grandmothers actually passed when I was really young. But I'm just curious to know what life was a little bit for them, and maybe I'm just curious to have a conversation with them to know what they saw in life or what their limitations, because I really think from what I understand, my grandmother's obviously helped me become here on the planet Earth. But I think that they had a lot of hard they dealt with because they passed when I was really young, and so for some reason that's who popped up,
I love
so
Yeah. No,
that was
that's
very
fantastic.
unexpected. That was
Yeah, I
very
love it though.
unexpected.
I think that's
My
fantastic.
grandmother's, that's interesting.
So special, and I'm sure they would love to have lunch with you.
Yeah,
So
that'd be great.
no, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And there's so much more that I want to dive into with you. We're out of time.
Oh my gosh, girl, I could talk all day. So
We could go. So maybe we'll
yeah,
do
but
this
thank you for
again.
listening, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for listening to us. Thank you for being with Christy and I today. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. We appreciate you. Leave a comment for Christy. Let her know you were here. We'd love for you to subscribe so you get pinged when we have more amazing, incredible women on the S.H.E podcast, sharing their journey, their fears, their challenges, how they move through them. There's someone that your story resonates with. And if you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, I want to do what she did. She success leaves clues. She's sharing with you how she did it. So make sure you reach out with her and connect with her. And if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, thank you. Super grateful. If you're inclined to leave a review, would love 5 stars, because that allows a platform to push our episode with Christy here out to more people, to allow more women who need to hear Christy and her message to hear it. If you know of anybody that would benefit from this, from hearing Christy, please share. Please share this with them. Let's support more women in their growth, whether it's professionally, personally, spiritually, whatever it may be for them, by hearing Christy and all of our amazing guests. So thank you, Christy, for your time. Super grateful for you.
Yeah, thank you so much for Heidi and all that you do to help empower women along their journeys.
Thank you. Thank you all for listening to Christy and I. Make sure you connect with her. Go grab that workbook on christypennison.com. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the S.H.E podcast. In the meantime, be empowered to be seen and heard.